Are you getting bombarded with advertisements and emails and posts around join this event right near you, fly away to this event over here, learn how to do this thing in just 4 days by coming to this event? Are you seeing these in your face? I feel like all of a sudden we came out of this bubble that we were in where people were tiptoeing around going to actual in-person events. And now we've all decided that it's just game on. I'm Melissa Franks, your host of the Opt-in podcast, and this is where we go from surviving and thriving inside of business. Today, we are going to be talking about the 5 things that I have learned in the last 30 days about attending in-person live events. If those of you don't follow me on Instagram, what you may not know is that in the month of September, I went to not 1, but 2 live events, and literally in 4 days, I'm flying to another one. So in like a 6-week period of time, 3 of my weeks have been spent with other humans out there in the world doing the thing in a business setting. And is that a lot in a short period of time? It is. And then when you add that I was at one just in June and one in May, so basically since the end of May, I've been at 5 functions, and you start to add up how many people I came into contact with. I've literally spent time with thousands of people in the last 4 months. Thousands of people that I had never met and wouldn't have met if I hadn't gone to these events. And so I thought, whilst I am in the midst of preparing for the last one, and it's not even the last one of the year, it's just the last one for right now, I would talk a little bit about what I have learned. And I should preface this by saying that I was somebody that hated in-person events. I hated them. I hated them. I hated them. I was lucky that when I was in corporate the last 3 or 4 years that I was in corporate, all of the in-person events that I went to were inside of our company. And for reasons I'm not going to disclose, I had to get approval before I went into anything public, and it was really hard to do. We just didn't, which I think served the point of keeping me inside the bubble. But anyway, I need to stop talking about that. So I hadn't really experienced what the rest of the world had experienced, related to conferences and trade shows and all those things. And from an introvert perspective, I was good with it. I was good not going into some crazy stadium or arena or ballroom or whatever with tens of thousands of people that I didn't know and staying there for 3 days and handing out my business card and I want to throw up. Literally, I want to throw up just thinking about it. And then alas, slowly I tiptoed into very small forums post-COVID. And when I say small, I mean, I was going to functions where there were 30 people, maybe 25 who I didn't know. So at least I had a couple people in the room that I knew. That seemed a little bit scary to me, but manageable. And I did that 3 or 4 times, once a year. And that was the extent of my experience in the recent past. And all of a sudden, I don't understand. The world all of a sudden decided that we could all get back together and that the best thing to do would smash a bunch of people into rooms. And so all of a sudden, I was in this environment where I had the opportunity to go and help organize and run and facilitate all of these events, which have been absolutely amazing. And I'm so blessed to have been able to participate in these that I wanted to share the 5 things that I've learned since May so that I can encourage all of you to attend something in person. That's what I just said. I want to encourage all of you to find something, whether it's a local networking event or it's a big conference or it's this one thing that you've always wanted to do, but you're scared to do it, or you saw something that's in a location that you always want to visit and you've never had a reason, and this is the exact reason. This podcast is going to encourage you to consider it, to find a way, and quite frankly, to just do it. So here are the 5 things, and they're just 5. I probably could have made a list of 100, but I'm trying to keep these podcasts a little bit short and bite-sized, frankly, because I'm traveling like a mad person. I don't have a lot of time to talk to all y'all. I will, though. Don't you worry, I will. So the very first thing that I want to talk about is networking. Drop your ears from your shoulders, take a deep breath. It's not scary. Networking is so good for you. It means human connection. It means finding like-minded people out there. It means that you have an opportunity to build community different and apart from the community that you have day to day. And so these live events are so good for that, because here's the thing is that like everybody's doing this kind of brand new for the first time. We're all Bambi, like on our legs and not sure how to walk. If you know, you know. And you have a bunch of people that are a little bit nervous. And for sure, there's like the massive extroverts and the massive introverts, and they're all kind of smashed into a pool together. But everybody's kind of in the same place right now. And what that means is that they're really hungry for human connection. I mean, if you think about it, almost all the things that we do now are screen to screen. And I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm up to date with my friends because I watch their Instagram stories. And the truth is I'm not. I mean, I cultivate what I put up there. I'm not like showing all of the crazy. So I'm sure that they're not either. So I'm not really in the know, but I feel like I'm in the know. It gives you like a false sense of security. And so getting into these rooms where you're talking to humans, you're sharing a coffee, you're just like introducing yourself, you're sharing pictures of the kids, like whatever you're doing, it creates human connection. And it's so important because we are really starting to live in a world where we don't know how to have a conversation. I mean, just go anywhere. Go to a restaurant, go to an airport, literally go anywhere. And you're going to find everybody with AirPods in, their phone in their hand, their head down. Even if they're with other people, nobody's talking to anybody anymore. In fact, I was at the airport a few weeks ago and two people were sitting side by side with each other. And all of a sudden I realized that they were texting each other. And they were like snickering and laughing and whatever. So maybe what they were texting, they could not say out loud, although they were pretty far away from everybody else. But like their mode of communication was literally to stand next to each other and communicate via the technology in their hand and not just talk to each other. And by getting into a room and networking, by forcing yourself to get into an environment where what you actually have to do is be human to human, you turn your brain on in different ways. It allows you to be empathetic. It allows you to really understand and get to know somebody. It allows you to relearn how to read body language cues. It allows you to get comfortable in your whole body itself. I mean, think about it. When you are doing most of your presenting, when you're doing most of your selling, when you're doing most of your conversations tough, you're giving feedback, all the things, you're doing it behind a screen. You've lost the ability to move your body correctly. Unless you're at a standing desk and you're able to move and do and all the things, and I know I gesticulate way more than the normal person, but unless you're in an environment where you can do that, you really locked yourself into this frame that operates inside of a box. And when you're not able to use your body to communicate your message, and then you get into an environment like a live event, or you get into a face-to-face meeting and that you don't have very often, you're awkward. You're that person that kind of moves in a robotic fashion because you're so accustomed to sitting in a chair and communicating just from the waist up that you don't know what to do with yourself. It is a completely different game when you're communicating full-bodied in front of somebody versus through a screen. And going to live events allows you to practice. It allows you to refire those neurons. It allows you to understand how to communicate with more than just your words. Networking is so important because it also helps you remember how to relate to the people in your house and the people that you see on a day-to-day basis, and it helps you reconnect to humans. So aside from the fact that you get to, share your business info and find out who knows who and how they're connected and all the things and like connect on Instagram and LinkedIn and do it. Great. That's all good for you. You make business contacts, you expand your network, you can phone a friend later. Like that's all good stuff. But like networking itself, like the actual action and activity of it is really just being human to human with other people and learning about them. It helps up-level your communication. It's just so good for you. So stop being scared of it. It's not as scary as it sounds, especially when you go to these big events because everybody is there alone. Like they don't know anybody either. So sit down at a table and be like, hey, where are you guys from? You'll be shocked at what you find out from people. You'll be shocked about the similarities you have. You may find your new best friend, or you may find your best friend's new husband. Like who knows what you're going to find. So networking. As much as it used to skeeve me out, I actually look forward to meeting new people now because it allows me to practice all these things that I was just talking about. The second thing is when you change your environment, you change your mind. When you change your environment, you change your mind. You see, we are humans. We are creatures of habit. So when we are in our habitat, we do the same things over and over and over again. We create small rhythms, we create nuance, we understand how in this room, this is what I do, and in this room, that is what I do. And what happens is your brain, your thinking part of your brain, actually makes adjustments based on the setting and the environment that you are in. There's scientific data to prove that you teach your brain what to think based on where you physically are. It's wild, right? Literally, your subconscious is like, I'm in the kitchen now. I don't have a business brain here. I don't. I have to focus on not cutting my hand off while I'm using a knife. I need to make sure my children don't get anywhere near the hot stove. I am in this mode where these are the things I think about, and I think about nothing else. The same can be said when you're in your office. When I'm in my office, I often lose track of time. I forget that I have to get my kids. I literally have a daily calendar reminder telling me to go pick my children up from school, not because I don't love them, not because I don't want to spend time with them, not because I don't know that I need to leave at 2:00 every day to pick them up, but because my office is where I work. And I am so focused on the work that I am doing that I shut out all of the other parts of my brain that are responsible for keeping humans and animals and myself alive. Candidly, because I don't eat in here, except very rarely, I will forget to eat when I am in my office if I do not remind myself to do it. Because my brain associates the office with work. My brain does not associate the office with eating. My brain does not associate the office with my kids, because God forbid. They have to come here sometimes when they're in trouble. So they probably associate my office with them getting in trouble, which is hilarious. But they're never here, right? So I don't associate this physical location with my humans. So this is the same science where they tell you not to have the TV in your room, right? I'm sure that you have seen all of the science about sleeping. I mean, who has not ingested the science about sleeping where it literally says no distractions. So keep your cell phone out of your room, no TVs in your room, change the lighting in your room, right? That's all because you're signaling to your brain, this is what happens here. And it literally, you eliminate all that stuff, your brain actually shuts down when you go into your bedroom. Because the only thing you do in there is sleep. Wild, right? Okay, so when you change your environment, you change your mind. So what that means is that if you have an environment that you work in, you have an office, a home office, or whatever, then your brain is conditioned to think worky things there. And then when you get into a new environment that's asking you to think the worky things in the new environment, creativity and innovation and ideas and all of that stuff gets unlocked. Because you're inviting your brain to think differently. Because you're in a foreign environment doing familiar things, your brain literally functions differently. When you change your environment, you change your mind. If you are stuck, if you have a business problem and you can't solve it, the best thing that you can do is go somewhere else and think about the business problem. Get out of the room, literal, physical room that you are stuck in, and go somewhere else and try to solve the problem. Do you know that that's why often people say they have a moment of brilliance on a walk or a run or while they're taking a shower? It's because they've changed their environment and they start working on something that they don't associate with the environment, and their brain just looks at it differently. So the cool thing about live events is that when you change your environment, you change your mind so much faster and in a much more fundamental way, because you have days on end where you're inviting yourself to think differently, where you're reinventing the way that you think, where you're changing the patterns, where you're literally being innovative. The power of being in a room with like-minded people that are all focused on something else is that your ideas become limitless and endless. You won't be the same person that walked in the door when you walk back out, and that's because when you change your environment, you change your mind. That might be the most powerful thing about going to an event, a multi-day event, that one could possibly have. The third thing that's associated with that is that you fast-track skill acquisition. And that's because you have immersive experience. So what you're doing is you're literally taking yourself out of your normal environment with your normal distractions, and you're going all in to say, I'm here to learn the thing and I'm going to do it in 3 days. The fastest way to buy back your time, to fast track, to separate yourself from everybody else is to find a way to immerse yourself in the environment so you can acquire the skill. Full stop. And I've been to a variety of events. So I've been to sales events where basically the whole goal of the 3 days was at the end, somebody was going to try to sell me something. I have been to fulfillment events where not actually getting sold a thing and just doing skill acquisition. And then I have been to hybrid events that are a little bit of both. And what I can tell you is even in the sales events, even when you know going in, well, that person's going to try to sell me something at the end of the day, they do it in a way where they're motivating you to take action by teaching you things along the way. The event that I went to in May, which was a sales event, and we knew that going in, and I went there for a specific reason. I actually went there to learn how to run a sales event, how that worked. And the cool thing was that not only did I acquire the skills to understand that framework and how to execute a sales event in 2.5 days, I also was able to acquire a whole bunch of new skills just by sitting in the room because of the speakers that were on the stage. So while I was well aware of the punchline, I knew exactly what was happening by sitting in that room. I was able to learn more in 2.5 days that I would have learned in 2.5 months. Now, the event that my clients just held in September was a 3-day fulfillment event where they were teaching for 3 days. And you want to know what was cool is that a 6-week program was achieved. Completion of that 6-week program was achieved in 3 days. That's what I mean by fast tracking skill acquisition. You just bought yourself 5.5 weeks. Literally separating yourself from the pack. Can you imagine how much faster you can act if you're able to acquire skills in 3 days versus 6 weeks? Mind freaking blown. These live events are the reason that you can fast track yourself. You can separate from the pack. You can do the unthinkable because you can acquire skills so much faster. Now, this requires you to be certain that the place that you were going to acquire the skills is actually going to teach them to you. So you need to do a little bit of vetting and you need to do some verification. And you have to ensure that you put yourself in an environment where you're ready to learn. Aside from that, you can acquire skills so fast just by taking yourself out of your day-to-day environment and putting yourself in an immersive situation for a few days. The fourth thing, and this might seem a little bit fluffy. This might seem a little bit woo-woo. I don't know. You're going to find your people. You're going to find your people. What do I mean by that? Okay, so we have all heard, we've probably said it to our children, that you are who you surround yourself with. You equal the 5 people you spend the most time with. There's like 75 different ways that people say this. And a lot of times, the people that we spend the most time with are family. And that means that we didn't necessarily choose them. They just are who they are. Or maybe we live in a community where, we grew up and the people that we're around most of the time are the people we grew up with, and they just have different goals and aspirations than us. And so going to these live events, what it allows you to do is find your community. It allows you to build bonds with people that you would normally never, ever meet. I was just in Florida, and I was with, 12 other women, business owners, and I literally knew like 3 people walking in the door. I feel like that's how many I knew, 3. And walking out of the door at the end of the week, like they're all friends. And what's really cool is that like everybody's at various stages of their business. And at the same time, I now have this tribe of people that just get it. And I have this community that I can kind of wrap myself in and say, well, this is the crew I'm running with. There are some people farther along in the journey. There's some people, that are all the same. And in either way, everybody's inspiring everybody to take action and do the right things and encourage and do all the stuff. Like you find your people. When you go into an environment where everybody's saying, I want to learn these things. I believe these beliefs. I identify as XYZ. You have common ground. And it allows you to find that 1, 2, 5, 7, however many people where you're like, I can call you when I need to reconnect to this vibe. I can get reassurance. I can bounce ideas off of you. You get to find your people that way. If you are in a place and in a space where you're lonely because nobody really understands what you're doing day to day and you're a little bit different than everybody else and your friend circle, you don't have anybody to ask. I was like this in corporate too. It's not uncommon. The cool thing about going to events where you're all there for the same reason is you're going to walk away with a community of people that are cheering for you and rooting you on and are there to help and support your journey, whatever that might be. So going to in-person events, making human connections, doing that networking thing is going to allow you to find your people. And isn't that cool? Don't you want to find your people? Everybody wants to find their people. And your people change over time. So this isn't like a once and done situation. Ideally, y'all grow together. But that doesn't always happen. Lives change. People, go in different directions. And so what you can do is find your people for the season that you're in and continue to find more people and more people and more people. And it'll be amazing to see the community of people that you have cheering for you, referring business your way, lifting you up when you need it, encouraging you. It's pretty freaking magical. And then the last one is you're going to gain so much clarity on your business. Because when you're doing that networking thing and when you're finding your people, over and over and over and over again, you're going to say what you do. Over and over and over again, you're going to demonstrate what you do. Over and over and over again, they're going to give you feedback. As you say things out of your mouth, you're like, oh, that's confusing. Or that didn't land because they've got all crinkly forehead if they're not doing Botox. And they don't understand what I'm saying. Or I said that and I walked the other direction. That just was a conversation killer. You are going to get real feedback around how you message about your business, how you message about what you do. It may even give you an opportunity to just demonstrate what you do. Last week when I was in Florida, it became kind of a running joke that every time I spoke, somebody was pulling out their phone and turning on the voice note app so that they could record the things that I was saying. I actually found it hilarious because I'm pretty certain that everybody in my personal life is like, can you just stop talking? We don't need any more words from you. And so it was great to be in an environment where people wanted to ask me questions and get answers. But what it allowed me to do was it allowed me to demonstrate. What I do is really complicated. Fractional COO it's so necessary. It's so necessary in businesses. And it's really difficult to explain what it is. And it allowed me across a variety of disciplines and backgrounds and et cetera to really be able to hone my message. And to be able to demonstrate, which is the best way for me to articulate what I do. When you go to an in-person function, that's such a magical opportunity for you. It allows you to get real-time feedback. It allows you to test the waters. And, it could look like you're prospecting. It could look like you're out there looking for business. But if you really use it in a genuine fashion to learn about the other people and let them learn about you, you're going to get so much information and feedback back about how you can speak about your business in new and different ways, how you can message, how you can demonstrate in new and different ways that is going to unlock your ability to do all sorts of things, to sell on the internet, to sell in person, to create content for like paid ads or your newsletter, like whatever, speak on podcasts, speak on stages. It's just a really good way to constantly be getting new feedback about how you talk about who you are, what you do, who you serve, and demonstrate over and over and over again. Live events are magical because they allow for human connection. They allow you to be authentically you. They allow you to get into a different environment where you can step in and realize your full potential. They inspire you to take action, acquire skills, and you leave reinvigorated with the promise of what's ahead of you. They leave you wanting more. And I encourage you, if you haven't put your toe in the water yet, to do it. Find something near you. Find something that calls to you. Find something that interests you. Find something where you're like, oh, I wish I knew all those people that go to an event like that. Your time is now. So bet on yourself. Get yourself in the room. Change your life. With that said, this one's short and sweet, friends. I am still offering, for a limited time, free consultations to small business owners who are stuck and need to figure out why in their business. So if you are interested in having a conversation and seeing if we can get you unstuck, click on the link in my bio and let's chat. Until we talk again, friends, please know that you are wise and strong and capable, and I believe in you.